Hello, citizens of the Backstreets. You're listening to another episode of the Friendgame podcast. Ian and Alex here again. We are here with episode 21. Thank God that Rob guy is gone. Am I right?
Oh my goodness, dude. He's definitely not going to hear this later and hear us saying stuff like this, right?
He's definitely gonna not hear us later and then realize, wait, wasn't I fucking in your apartment when you were making fun of me? Yeah, you were, bitch.
uh,
We're back again, and we have an interesting development in games we're playing. You may have you may recall from a bunch of previous episodes, has a big boner for a certain game called Library of Ruina.
only
Probably
kind
heard
of.
us talk about it. Alex has a huge heart on for it, and Ian is finally playing it.
Yeah, how long ago was it since I got that for you?
I have no idea. Does Steam tell you when stuff gets gifted to you, or what?
I have no idea.
Regardless, it's been a while. I've owned it for a while because Alex gifted it to me, and then the message was, "Play this game, nerd," or something to that effect. And I just haven't played it for a bunch of reasons, none of which are good reasons. But we're finally playing it, so we thought it would be a good idea to, now that I've dipped my toe in the proverbial waters. And then Alex is like basically a expert in the game because he's played it so many times and knows all about it and was part of the Kickstarter and like a bunch of other shit. I don't know.
I'll just be giving all these titles. Oof.
Right. We thought it would be interesting to look at both my perspective now playing the game for like 3 hours, and Alex, who has, I don't know how many hours you have in the game, more than 3.
100 something.
So we thought that would be a cool pair of points of view to kind of dive into one game. I'm gonna give my initial thoughts, and Alex is gonna be like, "Yeah, that's what I thought about," or that's not what I thought about. You're an idiot, and we're gonna go from there.
I think this is like, the thing is that a lot of the like games that both of us have played are generally multiplayer or like co-op, and this is kind of like one of the few single player games that like both of us have, or you're starting to play now and I've played.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm saying, like, the other single player games that I've played and really enjoyed are like Zelda and stuff, and like you've said before, you haven't really played a whole lot of Zelda, so maybe we'll have to do the reverse of this. I'm playing a single player game you like, so now you're gonna have to like play a Zelda game now, and we're gonna do this opposite thing where I'm the expert in the game and you're the person that's played it for 3 hours.
All right.
So maybe we'll do that in the future. I just thought of that now. That might be an interesting thing.
Yeah.
So kind of going with the outline I've kind of prepared for us here. Start with my initial thoughts, because I kind of like have known about the game just because Alex has talked about it so much, and I've seen him play it on stream. So I like know what it looks like, know what some of the characters are and stuff, but I haven't actually interacted with the game until now. So my initial thoughts are, what are my initial thoughts even?
No, he's still gathering his thoughts.
Right. So the first thing that I was like preparing myself for having to read a lot, because judging my experience solely off of just watching Alex stream the game, it looks super complicated to play. There's just like there's 3 enemy characters and then 3 of your characters in your party, and then everyone has their own deck, and then everyone has like their resource management that they have to figure out, and then everyone has like, you have a speed die, but then all of the cards in your hand also have multiple dice associated with them, and then there's like the enemy intents, like you can see what the enemy intends to do, and then you can like intercept the enemy with your dice if your speed dice is higher than the other enemies, and then like like it's just like when these 2 dice clash, it's different than when these 2 dice clash. And then if there's like the difference in like you either evade or you either like you reduce the damage you take, or you inflict like knockback damage onto their stagger, and like there's just a bunch of shit.
Yeah. I think it's funny because like it feels pretty overwhelming just within like the first hour, because there's so many like things you're reading it like right away, because not only were you like reading, since the game is only voiced in Korean, the you're already reading what's going on in the story, and then they immediately throw you in with like the tutorial, and it's all just reading. It's all text.
The thing that I did find though is it was actually not as confusing as I thought it was going to be at the start.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they do a good job of like the first battle or two is just like you have your starter, your main character guy, and you don't have any cards unlocked except just like the ones they give you. And then it does a fairly good job of explaining like the three different damage types and how like you're weak to some and not weak to the others, and there's like they're all kind of like the symbols are different if the enemies are weak or strong against things, so you can tell visually, so you don't have to like constantly keep rereading everything, which is nice.
Yeah.
And then the big pointer that I like heard Alex talk about once, so then I tried and it super helped was there's like a quick play mode for like all the battles, so you select your cards and then you hit go and that kind of just does it all automatically for you. I would suggest if you're new to the game that you turn quick play off, so you have to individually like hit spacebar or click for every like roll of the dice, so you can at least see what's happening first to like kind of get an understanding of it, and then you can slowly like turn quick play off because you're like, oh, I know what all the dice rolls on all these cards are. So if I clash here and I take damage, I must have just rolled low.
Yeah.
But when I had quick play on for the start, like a bunch of shit would happen, and then I would be down 20 life, and I'm like, what the fuck just happened? I didn't even see what happened because the quick play is quick. Like I don't have time to read what all the dice rolls are and stuff. So
Yeah, that's where was it when I had started playing, I didn't know about quick play, so I just learned on the fly on like how all the dice rolls and stuff work. I did essentially like on the fly. I had to do more reading before I hit play, since I had to read what the card numbers and stuff were ahead of time. But yeah, once you get used to it, turning quick play on just makes things go by faster.
Right, and like that's what it's supposed to be there for.
Mm-hmm.
So makes sense.
Yeah.
I am probably gonna like if I ever like take like a day or two break from the game, I'll probably have to go back and reread like when two attack die clash, what happens versus when like their attack and my defense clash, what happens versus like two defense die, what happens. Like there's like those interactions are like numerous.
Yeah.
So I have to probably keep reminding myself what all those do.
Yeah.
Like if we both roll a defense, I don't know what happens.
Oh.
Who rolls higher? What like, or if we both like they roll a defense, I roll an evade, and I roll higher. Like what happens? I couldn't tell you.
Yeah. The interactions with those are two defense die clashing. The winner will inflict stagger onto the other.
I see.
Then if an invade dice is going against a defensive die, if the evade die wins, it does what it's supposed to, so it restores stagger. And then if the defense die wins, then it inflicts stagger based on defense.
What if two evade die wins, then one person just recovers stagger more?
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
The term they use in game is recycle, which is essentially you keep the die for another round.
Right.
The only exception to that for evade die is when it clashes with a defensive die. So if it's a block dice or a evade dice, then once the evade die has been used, it won't recycle because it wasn't an attack.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all of those things I'll probably have to reread and keep reminding myself. Come up with some mnemonic device or something so I remember what all those do. Because like that's where the strategy comes in, which is one of the parts of the gameplay that I think I'm gonna like a lot, is just because like at its core it is still a card game, and we know how much I like a particular card game,
a certain one.
right? But this Library of Ruina has that type of aspect that is absent in a lot of other games, where like all those dice interactions have unique interactions, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then like it even compounds on top of itself with like you can, if your like speed is higher, you can like intercept the enemy in what their actions are trying to do. So like if they're trying to like triple attack one of your guys, and you have a different guy who's going faster and has like a like an evade card or something, like you can kind of overwrite their thing, not take any damage, and then free up your other guy to do some stuff. And that's the part that I think is going to be the most interesting.
Yeah.
So.
the like party setup dynamic really becomes more interesting as you get further along in the game, because then
Mhm.
you get more party members, and then you can start like was it potentially divvying up some of the roles. So you might have someone who's like really good at clashing, or someone who's just really good at beating someone down. So
Right, because right now I like obviously I'm early in the game, so I only have a couple of floors unlocked, and I have max of 2 party members on each of the floors. So I'm basically
mm,
just like my strategy right now is just look at what the enemy's weak to, and then just overload on that damage type. Is what
yep,
I've been doing.
yep,
So I just got the one card that's it's called You Only Live Once, and it's just a roll from 1 to 12, and I
yeah.
just like just YOLO roll, trying to roll high on damage on people. I'm like, whatever, or like or. I'm trying to like synergize, and like I give those cards to like one person, and then I
Mm,
give a bunch of cards that like do stagger damage to the other person. So like I can get a stagger and then hopefully draw that big card so I can get the bonus damage if they're staggered.
right.
So
You just max roll and then do kill someone in one hit.
yeah, I mean, like even if you don't, if you roll like a 6, it, like does bonus damage when they're staggered or
Yeah,
something. So
yeah,
yeah, I'm like barely getting into it, and already I'm seeing how these synergies can kind of work, and it's only going to get more, build on top of itself and get more complex and stuff like that. So that's what
yeah.
I'm looking forward to. Is just like the strategy part. Um, the other thing I'm really looking forward to is the all the characters that I saw you interacting with on stream. I want
Mm,
to like actually figure out what they're all about, because I just
yeah,
remember like turning into your stream, kind of having it on in the background and looking over, be like, oh, they look cool, but I know
yeah,
nothing about them. So like getting to learn more about those characters and seeing all of them and stuff is gonna be super fun.
yeah,
Just because I say it every time we talk about this game. Wow, character design is so cool.
yeah. I love the characters design in this game. Was it, the little side tangent here is that the art style of this game is actually being preserved for their next game too. So
Oh, that is interesting. I
yeah,
didn't know that.
so if you like the style of art that's going on in this game, hey, guess what? They're doing it for the next game too, which
Mhm.
means that visually this game, their next game is gonna be really good. But yeah, the like overall just like designs of all the characters in this game are really cool.
Mhm.
Not just
One
the main characters, but even just like
like the
the
people you
guys,
fight against
yeah,
and
the
stuff.
guys that you're
Yeah.
fighting against in the city.
The other thing that I kind of didn't notice until I was like going through the game and like doing the cutscenes and stuff is
Mm,
that like there's like the standard art style where it's like the 2 characters like talking to each other and it goes back and forth, but then
yeah,
they every once in a while it shoots to like the more artsy like painterly style
yeah,
kind of like full screen
hmm,
thing, and those are all really interesting because it's like it's still the art style, but it's like more like painterly and like supposed to be artistic, not just showing the characters, but showing them in a scene,
yeah,
not just
yeah,
like standing there like their little sprites standing there
yeah,
for a conversation. Seeing those scenes with the characters in them and they're all in these dynamic poses and stuff is something I didn't notice while watching you play, because they're on screen for just a little bit during like the end of the cutscene portions before you meet the characters. But those scenes are really cool with that like slightly altered art style.
hmm,
Those are really cool. I enjoyed seeing those.
yeah. Most of the story plays out very similarly to a visual novel, where it's like the two character sprites on screen, or the character sprites on screen just talking, and then
Hmm.
one gets highlighted, one doesn't. But yeah, those scene shots are always really interesting and very cool to see.
Yeah, and I'm just getting into like the first of the abnormality fights, which is where you fight against like the I don't even know what to call them. There's like negative emotions inside like people's brains and stuff. So like all those fights are all like really like otherworldly, and like some of them get kind of gross in like
Yep.
later in the game. Like I remember you saying, but the one I've done was like the blood clot one, so it's just like a big old like blood monster guy.
Ah, yes, bloodbath. Yeah.
And then I did the burning girl,
Oh, yep.
burning something.
The
So it's like
Scorch
the
Girl. Yep.
Scorch Girl, yeah. So it's like a little doll, and she fights with like these little matchstick
Mm.
things, and like all the, like the atmosphere and the music and the visuals are all just like real creepy SCP bullshit.
Yeah, yeah. Was it Yeah. So those abnormalities, those creatures are essentially they're stored in the library, and Angela tells you they're just like, oh well, these things are still around. So then you're like, okay, well I guess I'm gonna go and fight these things now. But yeah, they're always really creepy. They can be akin like to SCPs essentially, and they're all based on the game that came before Library of Ruina. So anyone who's played Lobotomy Corporation can instantly look at some of these creatures and be like, oh, I remember that thing. And
Mm-hmm.
most of these things have like some weird gimmick you kind of have to work around.
And I think because based on what I know from Lobotomy Corp, in that game you're like taking weird stuff out of people's brains.
Mm-hmm.
So that translates in this game where like all the anime or abnormalities are like they inflict like depression, and like that's like the type of like mood they set, or like they have something to do with like trauma that the people involved have like gone through and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So it's all really like all like the text that appears on screen that like the characters are saying are all just like really cryptic and weird, but then that like gets you into like the lore of like where these things are coming from, and then once you beat those things you have interactions with like the characters that they're tied to, and that like brings all like the lore and stuff together, because
Yeah.
like all this stuff is like super creepy, but like it's super creepy for a reason, and then you like kind of learn why kind of slowly.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like I said, I'm like 2.5 3 hours into the game. I'm already getting into these like interesting um like backstories that are like being kind of presented to you through the gameplay that you kind of learn about slowly afterwards. It's a cool way to like portray the story.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty cool.
Another interesting little bit that I'll give you is you ever notice have you noticed what side of the screen you're on during abnormality fights?
Yeah. Because when you're inviting people into the library, your party members are on the right, like you're in the
Mm-hmm.
library already, and then the guests are coming in from the left. But it's the opposite for the abnormality fights. You're on the left, and then the abnormalities are on the right. So I guess that's supposed to symbolize like the abnormalities are like in the book, and you're like going in to try to
Yeah,
get to kind of like extract them or get them out or something.
yeah. If I remember correctly, Angela talks about essentially their power is stored in the book, but
Hmm.
they're only willing to was it assist you in some way if you can suppress them. So then you have to go in and suppress them to was to you know get them onto your side to help you during your
Yeah.
future stuff.
I do remember your character Roland saying something like he's like, "Oh, we're gonna be seen as invaders," and Angela's like, "Yeah, pretty much." So that's probably that's probably like kind of how that works out too. So
I like that too because that gives some justification on why like the backgrounds and like the settings for those fights can be so weird is because
yeah,
it's because you're actually going into that book to like fight them.
yeah, and there's a like a just by like all the interactions that I've seen from the characters and like the lore and the things they talk about, I still have like questions on what exactly is happening in the world, but
Yeah,
I'm not really gonna ask a whole lot just because I'm sure they're gonna be explained somewhat in the
yeah,
future. I'm very fresh into the game, so I don't want to just like ask a bunch of stuff and be like all the answers are just gonna be like wait and see, just wait and see. I don't want to spoil it, just wait and see.
yeah.
So
The cool thing is that they recap essentially the major plot line in was it Lobotomy Corporation. So you never have
mhm.
to play that, which is cool. So you won't miss out on that many details by not playing that game.
Yeah, plus just like the few characters that I've met so far that are the side characters, like the other librarians, you kind of like free from their slumber or something. I don't
Hmm.
remember exactly. They all have like kind of like a beef with like the head librarian, so
Yeah,
like it's kind of like foreshadowing into some of the things you're gonna learn about in the future, just because your character Roland is fairly new to the situation he finds himself in, and he's like kind of like a doesn't give a shit about anything kind of dude. So he's
yeah,
just like, all right, well, like I'm here and I'm gonna die if I leave. All right, I guess I'm just chilling. So like he's just trying to talk to everybody, and so he's like slowly figuring out like everyone's got a beef with Angela, but no one's really saying anything. So like you're trying to figure that out as you go,
Yeah.
and it's pretty interesting.
Uh, how do you like the portrayal of the city so far?
It's interesting because you only kind of see it in like bits and pieces because like
Mm-hmm.
when you send out the invitations, you just get like a vision of the events that lead up to the guests coming to the library.
Yeah.
So like you don't you're only getting bits and pieces, and you're getting it from the perspective of like, well, so far from the people that I've seen, they've all been people like from the back streets and like the low livey kind of people that are struggling to survive.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure their perception of the city is not the same as people who are higher up. So you're kind of getting like a bottom up view so
Yep.
far in the game, which is pretty interesting because yeah, the people that I've fought against so far have been the rats, which are just like like I said, like the low life, barely surviving type people.
Yeah.
Then there's the oh, I'm not gonna remember them all now. There's like the guys from the office,
Oh yeah. The Yun
Yun,
office. Yeah.
the Yun office. So they're kind of like a little higher up, but still like they all kind of get picked on by their boss.
Mm-hmm.
That I fought against the Brotherhood of Iron, the
Oh
people who
yeah.
replaced their bodies with machines.
Yeah.
Those guys were cool. So those are still like their story was like they were struggling to make money, but they couldn't make money because they had to like sleep and eat and stuff.
Yeah.
So they just got rid of their bodies, so they have machine bodies now, so they don't have to worry about sleeping and eating and all those things, so they can just make more money.
Yep.
So that's the kind of like the situation those people find themselves in. So it's interesting. And then there's one more. I did the one with the guy who had the size and the chick with like the chainsaw.
Oh, the Hook office.
The Hook office. Yeah, those guys were sweet.
Yeah.
Those guys were cool.
Yeah.
And they're still like, not the most well-off people in the city either. So that's kind of the point of view of the city that I'm getting right now. It's just like lawless, dirty, grimy. Everyone's scrounging around for life, basically.
People are killing each other
Killing each other
to sell off
randomly.
their organs.
Yeah, because one of the one of the groups were like they were in the middle of a what was it called? Like a meat harvest, like a
Mm-hmm.
something like that. It's like one of their cards is like organ harvest or something. You're like, oh great, this is just like a wonderful people I'm interacting with right now. It's like yeah, they get freaked out because they're like actually just sifting through a dude's internal organs, and they're like, wait, this looks kind of funny. I'm like, what? Like that's your priority right now? What the fuck? That is an interesting populace nonetheless.
All right.
Yeah, I'm interested to see the turntables and how they will take, if you know what I mean.
Oh, I know what you mean. I was that's what kept me playing the game. I would always be like, just one more, and then next thing you know, it's like 2 a.m. I'm like, oh, I should probably go to bed.
Yeah, it's hard. This is the struggle that I've been having just recently. Is that like I have a hard time playing single player games now,
Yeah.
and it's 100% a me problem. But it's because like all the games I'm playing kind of like actively are like actively live service games.
Right.
So like Destiny, for example. I know we haven't played it a lot in the past, but it technically when you don't play it, you miss out on shit.
Yeah.
And obviously like FOMO is a thing, and missing out on shit just like feels bad.
Mm.
And I have a similar thing with like RuneScape. Like you can technically just like do anything in RuneScape whenever you want. It's not like you're missing out on anything. It'll all still be there.
Yeah.
But since it's like a paid like membership game, it's like for me internally just feels bad if I don't log on and play every day, because it's just like I'm wasting money, which obviously isn't 100% true.
Right.
But that's kind of the reason why I don't like sit and like play a single player game for a week, because that means I'm spending my gaming time doing that instead of like making money in RuneScape or grinding bounties or power level in Destiny. Is like,
Yeah.
do those things really matter? No, but then I feel like I'm not, like I don't feel productive then, even though it's like supposed to be fun, and like it's 100% a me problem.
Mm.
But that's kind of why I like I have just recently started playing Zelda games again, and I
Mm,
haven't for a long, long time. Just because it's like, do I really want to play this game that I've played 10 times and know how to do, or do
yeah,
I want to
go and learn how to
like
kill this
yeah
new
like
Slayer boss or something.
like play like yeah just level my Slayer for 4 hours
Yeah,
today? Like it like doesn't really matter, but like that's the reason, that's the thing, that the mental block that it's pushed me away from single player games just recently. And
mm,
it's also because like not a whole lot of new single player games have come out that I've like been itching to try, because like the
yeah,
last time I felt that way was when Breath of the Wild came out.
yeah,
So when that came out, I did stop playing Destiny for a while and didn't care about, I didn't get my raids done for the week
mm,
because I was playing the shit out of the new Zelda game. So like that probably factors in just because there's not a whole lot of new stuff that I'm interested in coming out. So
yeah, yeah. I can feel
when
feel
when
that.
Breath of the Wild 2 comes out, I'll probably hop and do that. When I'm like Metroid Dread looks really cool, so
Oh
when
yeah.
that comes out, I'll probably, fall off the face of the earth for a week, like you do.
Yeah. Oh
So
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, fair. I fell off the face of the earth for like what, about a month when I was playing Ruina. So
yeah.
like, and then new update would show up, and I was it to continue the story, and I'd be like, oh yeah, and then I'd be gone for that week. So
Right, yeah, because you were playing it technically in early access,
yeah, during the early
like
access period.
so you would like quote unquote finish what was in the game and then have to wait a little bit.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
I was pretty fortunate to be a part of the early access during like the halfway point in its lifespan, to where there was actually a lot of content out during the period of time that I was playing it.
hmm
Um, because when I had, I think it was when I had hit the start of the city rank, they had just released they had just started releasing the final parts of the game, and then by the time that I had fully caught up, was it the last bits of the game were releasing.
hmm
So been playing the game
yeah,
for a while.
yeah, it is interesting. I will promise to keep playing it, but I will not promise that it will be fast.
Eh, uh, how did I take it? I took it like it was like I play like one or two receptions every day or something like that, because it's like you can sit down and you can play it for a long period of time, yeah, but man, some like when you're starting a new fight, you have to watch the cutscene, which can
hmm
be pretty long, because like you're getting the entire essentially the backstory of these people, and then you have the fight, and the fight can be long too, depending on uh, if you have the right stuff equipped and what they have, and then just the way that you play it out too can draw out the fight. But most of the early
Yeah,
game stuff is pretty quick. I'd say that until you hit like the halfway point in the game, which isn't too far, fights won't drag out too long, which is nice.
hmm yeah. That's like both a blessing and a curse for a game, I think, just because like the fights being involved mean like you have to like get into them to play them and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but that also like sometimes I want to play a game to just like not have to give a fuck.
Yeah,
And I want to give a fuck about Library of Ruina just because it looks cool and it has awesome lore. So if
yeah.
I'm ever in the mood to like just chill, I'm probably not gonna play
Oh
Library of
yeah,
Ruina.
yeah.
Not to say that people don't chill and play the game, because if like you've played it for a long time, you know what the fights are, you know like what your good cards are because you've grinded for them and stuff. Like
Right.
later on in your playtime, you can probably just like sit and chill and do it for like leisure, because there's like an auto battle feature in the game.
Yeah.
So like they expected you to be able to like get to that point eventually. But like as for right now, I probably won't ever like, oh, I have an hour to kill. I'm gonna play some Library of Ruin. I want to, when I know I have time to sit down and pay attention and read everything, then I'll play it.
Yeah.
I don't know how frequently I'm gonna be in that kind of mood, So
Yeah. It's yeah, it is involved. You kind of have to be in that like mental state of
yeah,
being paying attention, because
and that's not a bad thing. I
yeah,
think like there's just like sometimes I want to like put something dumb on TV, I put on some Family Guy.
Yep.
But if I want to like put something dumb on TV, I don't put on a fucking Scorsese movie. Like,
Right.
know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Just like the thing that kept me playing was I was just always in that mood to discover more about that. It was always so it was so intriguing to me, especially how how the just the world, the story, all the characters, the gameplay, just everything I wanted.
Yeah, and I'm sure like when I get more involved into it, like it might like put me in the mood to play it more just
Yeah.
because like, oh, last time I played like all this, I found out all this stuff, so I want to see what happens, you
Yeah.
know. It's like when you like find a book you like, you'll have to stop reading, but then like when you get time, you just want to like read 10 pages just to see what happens, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm sure I'll get into that mood eventually when I start getting into it.
Yeah.
I'm obviously just still new to it, so.
Yep. Yeah. I definitely recommend it. Like,
Yeah.
continue playing. It's worth it. The
Yeah,
experience only gets better.
I'm having fun with it so far, and from what I've seen Alex play on stream, it like stays fun and has a lot of content in it. So
Yeah, surprisingly for
every fight is like more weird, like super weird and more different than the last from what I've seen. So
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You're like, oh man, you look at the time and then you realize you took like half an hour to do a fight, and then a couple days later when you're playing or when you're in more of the game, you look at the time and you realize that you took an hour to do the fight because there's just more things going on. But like, I love it. Like, it's I just like jumped on earlier to like to do one of the fights, and I was like, man, I'm gonna
like
I'm gonna
the
restart.
replayability is like pretty like baked in as well too. So
Yeah. Cool thing too is they added mod support about a month ago on release. They were like, hey, we're working on getting mod support. Then a week after release, they're like, yeah, mod support is now available. And then a couple weeks after that, they're like, yeah, here's a tool to like make your own battles and stuff. So
that's pretty sick.
they even have their own like user manual on how to like do all of it, how to import the sprites, sounds, how to make your own cards, stuff like that. So might be messing around with some mods in the future here. I heard that there was a new game plus mod that I want to take a look at.
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
And that doesn't even require me to like restart the game in any way. It's a mod. You install it and then you take you take books that you have and you just go and do the battles. So
yeah, because there's even like when you launch the game, it's like, do you want to launch the main game or launch the game with mods, or like they just like it's all in there already now. So
yep.
they know they're on Steam. They know people are there that are gonna like to do that shit. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, another cool thing is the Steam Workshop. I don't know if you've like customized any of your nuggets yet.
No, I have not done that yet.
But there is an option to like change what they're wearing, what outfit they're wearing, through like essentially like what books you have. But on the Steam Workshop, you can actually get like custom attire and custom headsets and stuff.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So like, that's where like some of the custom stuff I have from when I was playing on stream shows up. Because one of my characters is just Laffy from Azure Lane.
Wait, really? I don't think I've seen that one.
Yeah, it's Laffy's head, and then the like outfit I have her in is her holding a body pillow of Angela. Because I thought it would be really funny.
God damn it. That's really funny.
But yeah, no, I definitely recommend like messing with some of that stuff too, because it gives you a little bit more personality for your floors too. I'm glad you're playing it though.
Yeah, I will continue to update as I play it. And I guess that can be my random thing before we start episodes. If I've played anymore, I'll keep everybody updated because I know Alex wants me to keep him updated.
Oh,
So
for sure.
might as well do it in these. So
You have to. I mean, I'm the person. How many times have I been? Dude, it's literally my Discord status.
yeah,
It's just,
the
hey,
Discord says Library of Ruina officially released. Go play it. Dab.
yeah, go play it. It's a good game. It's a really good game.
But it's on Steam. Is it anywhere else?
It's on Xbox actually. If you have Xbox Game Pass, check it out.
There you go.
I'm pretty sure that players with the Xbox Game Pass can play it for free. So, I've heard that the controls are a little bit weird to get used to, but overall, the game itself is the same game. So if you don't have a PC to play it on, you can go over to the Xbox and play it, and the game runs fine. Like, the game runs smoothly.
Yeah, it runs fairly smoothly when I'm playing it too. So, and I have it maxed out. So.
Right.
I didn't know that it was on Xbox.
Yeah, the reason why the game got delayed so much for its official release was because they were trying to get it on Xbox, and they actually showed it off during their Xbox Indie game conferences. Another thing that I saw recently that Project Moon tweeted out was that Steam was showing off like their new downloading UI or something, and Library of Ruina was like front page there. So that was pretty funny.
This podcast is not sponsored by Xbox or Project Moon, but it could be. So hit us up, everybody.
I mean, I'm
get
only...
get a podcast sponsor.
Yeah.
Smile.
All
right. Shameless plug aside.
I mean, I'm only following their new game and seeing literally every time that they're releasing a new like character teaser. So
yeah, 'cause what do we have from that? Yeah, like I remember I saw like a poster with like the name of the game on it, and it has something to do with a train.
So the game is called we know for sure is called Limbus Company, and it is the tagline of it is like save the ego. And when you play more Library of Ruina, you'll know what ego is. But it's
Oh yeah, it says face the sin, save the ego, and ego is like E.G.O, so it must be an acronym for something.
But yeah,
I'm sure I will figure out soon.
Oh yeah. But they've been recently they've been posting like characters that are apparently with the company, so there's some pretty interesting like designs, and each of the characters has like a different like back art that kind of pertains to their story, it seems.
Yeah, it's like some scenery or something that's going to be in the game. Yeah.
But they've been like slowly teasing stuff. There's an entire like I want to say The City. I'm going to call it The City. Like comic that I still have to go and look at and read, because this is an entire storyline that I still haven't like read. But they apparently when I was looking around, there's actually like short stories and of like following people in the city with how things have been going on and stuff.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how that kind of develops in Library of Ruina in this game, just because like it's weird because I'm like getting some classic like cyberpunk like trope vibes where it's like a bunch of big corporations battling against each other. All the people are just like all big corporations are bad, and all the people are just like struggling to survive, and just like this like underground kind of society thing. Or it's like vibes I'm getting so far.
Yeah,
but it's not like futuristic like a cyberpunk kind of story would be.
Yeah, it doesn't give off that feeling of like being super hyper like futuristic, right?
hyper futuristic with like everyone has like a mohawk and like neon lights
Yeah,
everywhere, and like people
floating
have like
cars every now and then.
floating cars and laser guns and shit. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't have any of that, but there's just like people have swords, but then also people have like fucking robot bodies, but then also
Oh.
there's like chainsaws, but then there's also just like this dude made out of blood. Like I have no idea what fucking aesthetic to get to name it. Like it's weird. But
Yeah.
all the characters are like dressed up in like suits and Victorian age dresses and
Yeah,
shit.
right.
Like
Yeah.
the library itself has just like a bunch of different like floors, but they all have like their own unique aesthetic. And I've only seen 3 of them so far.
Right.
So it's weird, but it all looks really cool, whatever the hell it is. So
Do you have a favorite character so far?
I mean, so far I'm just like Roland is cool, just because he's like a funny, like witty, doesn't give a shit kind of dude.
Yeah.
Because like one of the interactions that I had with Angela recently is just like Angela's like, "Why are you doing all this stuff for me so submissively?" And he's like, "Bro, you're the one that said if I leave, I die. What the fuck am I supposed to do?"
Yeah.
It's basically what he says to her. I'm like, I mean, yeah, you right though. Like,
He's like, yo, I would say the same shit.
yeah, it's like the first time they met, she exploded 2 of his limbs. So
Yep.
like, of course he's not gonna talk back to her. Like,
He learned after basically dying. Yeah.
yeah. So he's just having all these interactions with the 2 other librarians that I've unlocked, and they're both kind of just like, one's super happy, cheery. Melkuth is like this like super cheery girl, and then the other dude in the tech wing is just like, "Bruh, your tie is crooked."
Yeah.
All right. And then he like doesn't shake his hand, and then he's like, "All right, you can leave now." I'm like, "All right, whatever, dude."
The super serious dude. Yeah.
Yeah, we should do like a partner cosplay of just like those 2 guys.
There's a good amount of combinations of characters there that you could do. We could do a cosplay of.
All right, bet.
Because God, the next is it the next one? No, it's not the next one. The next 2 floors you'll like. That's for sure.
All right.
Yeah. I know for sure that you'll like floor 4.
Because I have 3 total, so that would be the next one.
No, sorry, floor 5. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The 5th floor. You'll like the 5th floor. I know you will.
Yeah. I'm in wait and see mode.
Wait and see mode. But now I can talk about my experiences. Yeah. Was it man? I went back and watched like I've gone back and watched like my old broadcasts of when I played this game because I have all that archived that I still haven't done anything with. But I have all that archived, and it's really funny because like I go back to that and I just see myself and I'm like, wow, I was really bad at this game. Like not reading card interactions, not reading what things do. It's it's pretty hard to see. But then, can go back and play now and I know whatever is going on and stuff. But yeah, that game is what I would recommend to people. I'm glad Ian finally started playing it. If any of my friends are still listening to this and have started it in any way, they should also play it. I also recommend this to a lot of my other friends who would also enjoy RPGs and card games.
It's like so far from it's like a good mix of turn-based RPG and card game.
Mm-hmm.
And like kind of like a deck builder too, because like you get to do that before all the fights. You get to see the opponent, see their stats, see their decks, and you can kind of try and plan around it.
Yeah.
And then some of the fights you don't get to see everything. Cause like the abnormality fights, you have to kind of figure out the mechanics as you go.
Yeah.
But then like once you get your shit kicked in once, you can be like, okay, well I don't want any of this and I want this instead, and
Yeah.
you can kind of strategize that way. So like there's enough strategy and like turn-based kind of, trying to figure stuff out and going through mechanics and party member uh synergies, and like there's a bunch of stuff you can do. So
I can't wait until you start getting the floor synergies too to add on to your thing.
right, yeah, all the
I'm sure you're
stages.
seeing that now too with the abnormality cards that you can get, where it's like
Yeah,
they
all
all
this
have additional effects and stuff. So
the stages have all their like passives and stuff you can get.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause I'm already even like the key pages that I've been getting give like bonuses to like a certain damage type, so then I make sure to switch to those when like the enemy's resistant to that and
yeah,
all that stuff. So,
right.
and again, I'm just dipping my toe in the waters here, so
Mm. Well, I'm glad. I hope more people give it a try.
yeah, it's interesting just for the story, I think.
Yeah,
Because I'm a fan of like weird shit. Like my favorite anime is
Yeah.
Evangelion.
Yeah.
If that gives you any hint to the type of media that I like.
yeah. I mean, if that's like, if that's something you like, I definitely recommend it then, because it has that vibe. That's for sure. Just like that world in general has that vibe.
Because I'm already like invested in like. Angela says she's got these kind of motives, but like doesn't exactly tell you what she's like. She's looking for like the one book, but like you still
Yeah.
don't really know what that means. So like just that in itself is mysterious enough to make me want to learn more. So
Mm.
so yeah, all that stuff is going to be interesting. So I will continue to update, like I said. Especially when I start getting stuck on shit and be like, Alex, what the fuck did you do for this fight? He's gonna be like, I don't know, man. He's gotta figure it out.
It'll be funny when we do like a mid roll episode of your experience when like you've climbed a couple tiers and you're like talking about these card synergies and stuff. I'm like, oh man, dude, he's getting into it now.
So yeah, so that'll be something to look forward to, I guess, if you want to take a journey with me here throughout the episodes. I'll be sure to mention it if there are any interesting things to mention.
Yeah. I think that's it for that, huh?
But I think that is it for that. Yeah, it'll be I'm still in wait and see mode. I'm enjoying it so far, but I'm still fresh out of the womb, as it were. Don't use that analogy.
Oh my God.
I've only played for 3 hours, and there's a lot of content, so I'm gonna keep playing it, but I'm not gonna promise that I'm gonna finish it all soon.
Oh no.
So.
I mean, it took me like I want to say like 6 months to actually finish that game. Oh, and that was during the period of time of like a month of that was me just waiting for the next content drop.
True. Yeah.
So
yeah. I have access to everything
Yeah.
as the game is officially out now.
Yeah.
So the me taking forever is just me being bad, not me waiting for anything. So smile.
I have a random topic that I want to go into.
Okay, transition into random fact of the day. Here we go.
All right. So was it Did we talk about us playing Aeon's End recently in the podcast? No. So the last time we played Aeon's End, we played 4-player game, and we finally figured out how to actually like win in the game.
Yeah, we've lost in that game so many times.
Because I did not read the subtext of if the boss's cards run out, the boss is actually exhausted and just loses. Which means we win.
And I thought it was the opposite.
Yeah,
like
I did too.
I think in Eldritch Horror it's like that. If you run out of cards in the Mythos deck, you just lose.
Yeah.
Or the monster flips or something.
Yeah.
And then, whatever.
But yeah, like, man, that game is so much fun. Oh my God.
It's funny that we had to rely on the harder win condition in order to beat the game that time. Because like going through the boss's entire deck, meaning you're just like you're seeing all of his attacks and all of his minions and all of his effects. So like killing him before that would just be easier. But we're like not good enough, not didn't have enough damage to kill him early, so we just had to we basically milled out the boss,
Yeah,
which is always the harder strat.
it was funny. It's funny too because I was playing it last night with Rob, and was it in the middle of our like second session. I was like, I can see why playing with 2 players is easier than playing with 4 players. It's just because the amount of like resource management and like what's in the shop and stuff doesn't have to be shared by 4 people now, right? So now,
that's interesting that there isn't like a scaling mechanic for number of items in the shop to number of players.
right.
But I guess that's balanced out in that like you have less yourself, but you have more items just among your team
Yeah.
in general because it's 4 people buying things. So like it's the same number of items, but you probably like get everything in the shop easier with more people. So like you effectively have more power, but it's just more distributed. So I don't. It's probably how it's balanced.
Well, the big thing is that the turn order deck now becomes 2 of player 1, 2 of player 2, and 2 nemesis cards.
Oh,
So that means that in every rotation you get at least 2 turns, right? So now you can start being like, okay, well, where am I in the turn order deck? Okay, I went first here. That means that I have another turn I can set up for my next turn. Whereas
I did not know that.
Yeah, in a 4-player game, it's just up in the air when you go, right? So you can't.
I did not know that you get shuffled in twice when it's 2 players.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So it makes your turns like was it I remember one of the things was like Rob was the last 2 cards in the turn order deck, and I was just like, yeah, you're the last 2 turns, so you can play.
Yeah, I
setup
feel like
turn.
if you're ever in that spot, that's probably busted.
Yeah,
Like
cause he is like, oh well, I have a bunch of spells in my hand now. He can just play out all those spells on his first turn, buy a gem or something, and the next turn fire off all those spells to just like instantly nuke a minion.
and then since if you're the last 2, you could theoretically go again too. Because
Yep.
if you're last 2, then you take them and shuffle. So like,
Yeah.
that's actually wild.
Another cool thing too, though, is that like, cause when you're in a 4-player game, you never know when you never know when a minion's gonna show up, right? And minions can cause like big problems, especially in the like kind of middle section of the game where you're transitioning from the first tier to the second tier, and then all of a sudden you have like 2 or 3 minions out that you haven't killed. In a 4-player game, that kind of sucks because now you have to determine whether or not you're going to hold up your spell or if you're going to fire it. In a 2-player game, on your first turn rotation, you can be like, yeah, I'm going to hold up, I'm going to prep this spell. And then on your second turn, you can, like, a minion spawns. Maybe the nemesis goes at least once. Minion spawns. Oh, turn 2, and fire off the spell, and was to take off some of that heat, that pressure that we would have with like the minion dealing damage to Gravehold or something like that. So
Yeah, it's like having 2 people but the same amount of player turns is just like you're playing like Earth mode.
yeah,
This guy is like there's still 4 player turns, but since it's just you going twice, it's just like you have half cooldown on all your shit.
yeah,
So you don't have to wait a full turn cycle. You're going twice each turn cycle, so you're effectively doing twice as much, even though there's like half of you, which is just weird to say because you would think like, oh, it's 4 players either way, but
right,
yeah, because I think if you're playing 2 people, you could buy more shit for yourself.
Yep.
Which means you could synergize by yourself better, and then you also go twice as often. So like, yeah, that makes sense why 2 players is really strong.
yeah. And then another thing too that I noticed was getting one person in a 2-player game to be devoted to like early spell buying and stuff, and being the spell slinger is really useful. And I think that in a 4-player game, you probably want 2 players doing that, half the squad doing that, right? Instead of just like one person trying to do that, because in a 2-player game, then you have like, you that person who's the spell slinger has 2 turns, In a 4-player game, if you get 2 people to do that, then now you have half the squad like ready to shoot down a minion if it happens.
Because if you have only one person doing that, it's actually just 1/4 of the turns that are dedicated to doing that.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Because if you're in a 2-player game, you have one person. It's still 2 turns worth of like crowd control, basically.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, minion management, or like dealing with the boss, you know, while the other person's like ramping up or something.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's good to have 3 people ramping up. If you die before they get there, then it's, you know, not really worth anything.
Right.
So.
Right. Another thing that I've also like, I think my vision is also a little skewed because of how the shop turned out for our 2-player
True, you do
game.
have to kind of get lucky sometimes
Yeah.
to play around with your shop.
Because getting a spell that focuses breaches and then getting an item that just like can focus or open your breaches at the same in the same shop means that you're gonna be able to get a lot of damage out early. So like it makes it even easier because on my first turn I can be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna open up this breach on like turn 2, and then you know my next subsequent turns is just gonna be opening that last one. So yeah, it's a fun game. Definitely recommend.
Yeah, that's a good game.
Gotta find expansions or something for it, or play the higher difficulty. Maybe that's what Rob and I will do later.
Yeah.
You want to play some Anzan?
I'm down.
Yo.
All
right.
All right. Well, let's end this fucking episode so we can play some board games.
Fucking bet. All right. Well.
Yeah. Thanks again, everybody, for listening in. We've had a development in our games we're playing. Ian's finally playing the game that Alex wants him to play.
Yeah, we did it.
Keep you all informed. So I'm sure Alex would like to keep informed in my experience going through Library of Ruina. So again, thanks for watching. This has been episode 21 of the Friendgame podcast. Make sure you do the YouTube stuff, and we will see you in the next one.
Peace.